The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of a never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?
Oh, good morning, Greg. We don't have your audio this morning.
So well, there we go.
That's good morning,
that's
everyone.
The glitch. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 53rd episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. I am the first named host today, Greg Lang of Rivet and megatexas.eth and ColtDAO. And I am honored to host the show today. So let's just jump right in. So today we've got our other hosts, Dave from Den.Social.
Hello.
Satoshi Shun, entrepreneur and everybody's friend. Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa, crypto evangelist and patriot. And we've got with us today Rain on Chain from ColtDAO. She is a new member of the mix today, but somebody who I've been very excited to talk to because I've had some great interactions with her before in other spaces. And we've got Ross from Global Crypto Press, and I'm Greg from Rivet. So quick update on World Blockchain Roundtable Layer ownership tokens. Lot distribution from last week's episode. Each host from last week will receive 133 lot. Each topic contributor from last week will receive 41 lot. And the theme was suggested by myself, so I will get an additional 41 lot. And these ownership tokens come with perpetual passive income, free edits, and governance votes on Den.Social. And then we have June theme suggestions are now posted, so it's time to vote on them. We will have a link posted in the show notes, but you can find it on the Den.Social layer. Okay, so current events.
Yeah, so what's going on in the world today? There's a lot, I guess, right?
Takes everything you've got.
What do we want to talk about? I guess there's so many options. Without getting into any kind of like inflamed personal discussion, maybe we can talk about what's going on with the gun laws and shooting that happened recently. I know I have seen a lot of people talking about that. Probably an interesting topic.
Yeah, I think we got to start for sure by saying, like, to the extent we're talking about this today, it is because of the conversation raised by this tragedy, but that doesn't diminish the tragedy in any way. That is a thing that if you're being affected by it is the worst thing in the world, and honestly, probably not a time for meaningful processing of anything other than the grief of the tragedy. So
yeah, I agree. And
we're definitely with you.
I was hesitant, like maybe it's too soon, but
I just wanted to toss that in there real fast.
But it's obviously a big deal. I've been thinking about that a little bit more lately, personally. I know I tend to be the lefty on this show, basically. So I've been kind of like evaluating, my own feelings about that. And what I have kind of come to personally was, the Second Amendment's important, and I think the entire thing maybe needs to be read in its entirety. And maybe there could be a conversation about some sort of well-regulated militia in every town instead of relying on the police force. They didn't seem to do a lot of their job here.
So like a social enterprise that knits a gun community into a social militia.
Kind of. I mean, it's tricky. It's hard. It's hard to do something that's not extreme one way or the other. But that's what disappoints me is there's a lot of conversation that I see that is an extreme one way or the other. We either ban all guns or we allow all guns. Like there's so much middle ground. There's somewhere in there that we can maybe start.
from a libertarian perspective, like, so I tend to be, like almost Joe on that scale, but not quite in the same exact ways. I think there's some real power in the idea of people who own guns forming a community to get together and actually not have to worry about being, treated as a terrorist group. If it were a community group as opposed to a terrorist group, that might help us solve some of these things. Like, it wouldn't be such an in the shadows type of deal.
And I think that's a legitimate thing to want to exist for a bunch of reasons. One, that it's defined in our Constitution as something we're supposed to be able to do, but also it can be done at the same time. I think as some we have some reasonable rules on who can buy guns right now. I think it can be talked about more in that direction. Like, I'm not for necessarily registering guns, for example, but licensing can be useful. There's options there to talk about, and I just want more people to talk about.
So if we wanted to start, like, here's my question, I think, for the room. If we wanted to start with something that would actually make an impact today, like if we could stop the next one, what would doing something about it look like? Like, that is something that, that I have a hard time picturing in my head as gun control laws.
Yeah, I definitely don't have an answer there. Everything that I'm thinking is like a process. It's a long term. It's a transition to something. It's something we have to, spend time on. I don't know what would work tomorrow.
What Lisa, you look like you got some thoughts.
I'm about to explode. I'm sorry.
That's great.
The first one, I said, if you armed teachers and gave them even extra money, there would be several that would go ahead and do that. They would have to, obviously pass gun safety courses and things like that. But I think if they were a more well-regulated security force, and it could be completely voluntary, maybe an extra couple $100 on their check or something.
I'm always amazed at volunteer firefighters, for example. They've got really good integrity, it seems like.
Yep.
So I always thought something like that. But I think the more people that are armed, and it's just a regular thing. It's not a. Hear you say, form communities around guns. That's just.
I know it's
well, but that is that statement.
They're probably coming straight for me right now. I probably said something that triggers
but it's so weird that it does.
By the censors.
It's so weird that we've gotten to the point where that does, where it's completely like the best idea that there is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, a friend of mine recently was talking about, he's similar to me, where he said, I think that everybody should have universal health care, but I also think it's fine for people to have shotguns. So what's my party? I don't know.
But I think we're talking about what would stop the next horrible act.
I was off topic.
And we're not talking about what the real problem is. The real problem is not the weapon. The real problem is the mental illness issue in our country and probably around the world. That's what caused this, not the weapon.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
There's basic things.
The root cause is never the tools.
Basic things are basic things, and you can make them bigger or you can make them smaller. The second that Russia came up to the border, they started throwing guns at all their citizens. It's like, hey, if a really bad guy is coming, you should defend yourself. Mm-hmm. And then you just make it smaller and smaller and smaller to who the bad guy is, and you can see that everyone should be able to defend themselves.
Well, I mean, I think there's two angles here, right? I think we've got two things to consider, because obviously, if we could prevent some loss of life by doing something like that, like doing some kind of tools-based solution, I feel like we're focusing on the wrong tools. Like, why? For example, would we not be talking about, instead of like AI is preventing or calling the cops when your packages get stolen and helping report on that? Why aren't we doing something like, if you detect a gun, set off the disabling loud sonic system and start flooding the school with that safety foam?
Right.
Like, there has to be some way to just have like actually use our technology to fix the safety of it.
Yeah.
I'd like to chime in. Okay, there's a couple unrealistic things that we just have to deal with right now that change everything when you take them into account. You have to take them into account. First off is there's 3 guns for every human in the United States right now. banning guns, we were to try to seize them all, starting a civil war aside, that would not happen in our generation, wouldn't happen in our children's generation,
Right.
it wouldn't happen in grandchildren's generation. There would be criminals armed, knowing law-abiding citizens aren't, from that point on, and it would be horrible. Second off, look up right now on YouTube 3D printed guns. Okay, the entire topic of gun control is out of date. It's expired. People can print guns at home right now. So exactly, we need to deal with the mental illness because people are going to get their hands on weapons. You know, we constantly, if you pay attention to news outside of America, there are massive knife stabbings, you know, mass killings by knife and machete happening in Europe all the time. There's acid being thrown on people's faces.
Well, I mean, not to bring
London,
up this specific word that killed Alex Jones, but when that happened, that school shooting, the same day, there was a knifing in China in a school that was
how many killed?
The same amount of people.
Yeah, they could get him out too. It's really not that different of a body count, man.
The thing that always stops me is you know, what's the difference between Australia, Canada, and the United States in terms of
the amount of guns
instead of how the pandemic played out for the people.
The amount of guns that they had, and the gangster culture that we have here that nowhere else has, man.
I feel like part of the reason we weren't getting locked into apartment buildings and told how much alcohol we could drink was because of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of things that I think is important to be said. I don't know if Russ, you said it maybe, but like, and this is kind of something I always have to fight to start with, is the reality of what exists now. You know, if we're starting this conversation right now, if we're not, you know, like the outdated argument, like Ross was talking about, do guns exist? Yes. Are they fucking everywhere? Yes. Okay. Now, do you see the problem with trying to say, oh, they're all illegal all of a sudden, everybody's going to go turn them in? Ross is right. It would start a civil war. Right? We
could have done it right after we won.
It would be the federal government declaring war on generations of humans.
Now, that's not we gave our independence and seized all the guns. Maybe
I made a post about this a couple of weeks ago, and the thing is that gun owners are the most law-abiding citizens there are. You know, they know that the government they have a special, you know, agency that's watching them. But if you take that and that leash off of them, because they're the most. I think gun owners are the most awake people there are when it comes to their rights and what's going on. And they're obviously even super liberals. Well, they go out and get that gun because a riot came through their neighborhood. You know, they know they're fed up to where they're doing something that they don't want to do because they don't trust the system to defend their family and defend their stuff.
The real issue there is it's the system.
And it's just another tragedy that gets exploited.
But if you make them illegal, if you try to take away their guns, or if you turn those people into criminals, if you're a law-abiding citizen who, you know, just grins and bears it and deals with the shit that the government heaps on you, and then all of a sudden you're a criminal, you're free. You know, you're already a criminal. It's not like you're going to do something.
But I want to know, does anybody else think
it's a criminal? So when being free and owning a firearm makes you a criminal, you have no choice but to either fight. You've already become a criminal. They've already done that. They've freed you.
What if that's their point? What if that's the whole point of it? Like, it seems like every time the federal government seems to be taking some kind of action in the United States, it's all about attacking one of our fundamental rights.
Honestly,
and reducing its efficacy relative to the
always,
government's
I'm going to make you safer, and it's only going to cost you this.
And I think that with the pandemic and as far
and we're paying
as we allowed all governments to go, I think the next thing might be a little skirmish. Not a whole big thing, but pushing. Everything is always designed to push as far as it'll go, and it gets to that breaking point, and they pull back, or they push a little bit too far. And then they have riots in the streets about, you know, the vid, and then it ended. So I think maybe it's designed to push us towards control and to see how far they can go.
Well, it's all government
we can get them down to 3 each, and then they went nuts. That's when they went.
Tinfoil hat a little bit. You think that's kind of like a measurement of where the line is? You think they are measuring where the breaking points are in the different demographics, so that
I think
since what the operating boundaries are.
I just think it would be wrong or a mistake to think that it's coordinated. I think that it's the nature of the system, right? The system itself, opinion. Just like you plug in any random person, and if they're doing their job and not getting fired, then it does what it's doing.
That's my opinion, is like, if there's someone in control, it's not the US government. Just working in the government for almost a decade, I don't think
Right. And the mindset isn't negative. Like,
much
the people that work there care.
competency to
They just end up
coordinate that
doing
kind of thing.
terrible things.
I think it's coordinated. I think that if you step back, man, and look at just word usage, like when Hillary Rodham Clinton, all of a sudden one day it was Rodham. It was just added on. You know, it was a weird thing. It's like, why is everyone doing that in unison? You know, throughout history, everything's been designed to push as far as it'll go, and then come back, and then you have a year or 2 years, and then they push again. And
it's a lot like coding, really, when you think about it.
Greg, was it
Eliminating
you that
bugs.
was telling me about that book, Crystallizing Public Opinion by Ed? Oh gosh, what's his last name?
Ed and Eddie.
It's like Einstein's uncle or cousin or something, and they basically are like, it's the guy that taught everybody to eat bacon and eggs and got women to smoke in the 20s.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Bernays.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
So when you say there's a coordinated effort, there is a coordinated effort, and if you think they only did it in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, and they're not doing it now, they are doing it now.
Right, but it's part of a managerial
whoever
culture.
they are has a agenda to make us behave a certain way,
Right.
and I think it is the majority, and I think that is what's going on, and we have.
But process reform is never a campaign issue.
I don't know if you guys noticed this in your lifetimes, but I noticed the Americanization of the world. You know, it was all about America. It was all about Disneyland. It was all about Coca-Cola. I mean, literally, people wore those brands and paid like top dollar to be an ad for a company. And remember that Rammstein song? It's like, I don't speak my mother tongue, because it's, you know, it's all
I know is Du Hast.
But it's the one after Du Hast where it's talking about, you know, how Germany's not German, everything's American, everybody wants, you know, Mickey Mouse. And
yeah,
also, I think there's also an element
now, but
my
point is,
you know,
if you can see, it's a, I think it's a concerted effort, because we went back to a European colonization of the world, and now everything's not Americanized; it's more Europeanized. You know what I mean? Everything is going in that direction of the EU, of the way that they think. There's not much difference between the United States, Canada, and Great Britain anymore. And
the internet is the world, right? Like, that's the real, like, it's its own culture, it's its own nation, practically.
Yep, those days are over. Where you know, I grew up in Ireland and emigrated to America when I was 20. And yeah, there was vast. I mean, the culture shock was something else, but that's just, you know, when you emigrate. But over the years, I've gotten to see what the internet has done, and it has broken down the borders for sure. And those days are over, you know, where I grew up watching all the American shows and dreamed of America and all of that sort of stuff. And then got here and was gravely disappointed in what was presented to me on television, in the Waltons and Little House on the Prairie and whatever else. I'll give away my age. But yeah, so, you know, it's interesting. The internet has changed everything. I talked to my brother in Ireland, and, you know, he understands everything in the world now, rather than he's stuck in Ireland with nothing. You know, it's a phone. And in the beginning, I used to write home. You know, I used to write on a piece of paper. So yeah, those times.
What I wonder is, you know, what you're talking about. You're from another Western civilization, though.
Yes.
I wonder, and I agree. I think it has merged a lot. If you speak English, basically, we're all going to share the same pop culture right now. But how do you feel as far as the internet and the effect it's had on cultures that can't communicate that well? Let's say Western and Middle Eastern. You know, like, is the division actually bigger because of the internet?
Well, they were discussing it last night on a space, massive space on Twitter, and I popped in, and they were all discussing basically, you know, that the language barriers now what's holding us from emerging as this powerful, universal crowd of people that are bloody well done with all of the shit, right? So, and last night they were talking about how do we get translation? How do we get everybody on the same space? How do we bring the East and the West onto the same space and we're all hearing each other, and tone and inflection and how, they were talking about all of that technology. That's around the corner.
We need interpreters in there. That would be the way to start, right?
Sorry?
We should have interpreters as a way to start. That'd be kind of
cool.
Oh,
that's wonderful. Yeah, they were literally bouncing ideas, some of the greatest minds in crypto. And they brought on a guy, I think was his name on Twitter, from the East. And he brought on all of his crowd. And even though, they didn't, there was no Mandarin, they came on and he was like, this is what I want to do. I want to unite both sides. It's time. And I think that's what's happening. I think there's an uproar, and both sides, all the world, is beginning to recognize DAOs. They're beginning to recognize it's possible to make change by uniting.
It's hard not to be inspired by that too. I think you're right. I see something similar, and something we've said here before is like with the war, with Russia, with Ukraine, with the U.S. The people don't want to go to war, right? The people don't want to do that.
No, they don't want to detonate their homes. They want to build better ones.
And now that the people of one nation can directly speak with the people of another nation without going through so many gatekeepers of what's, what the game of telephone of what the message actually is or what people think over there of each other, the more obvious it is that no, Russians and Ukrainians and Americans don't want to go to war. It's the people that are driving these countries to war, making it so. It's not us. It's not the people.
Right.
So,
right.
That becoming
online, man, that's not what we're seeing. We're not seeing Russians and Ukrainians both getting online and they're being like, man, I really wish our governments were fighting. No, they're blaming each other online, man. Like,
are they?
Crazy. I mean, it's crazy, just vitriol hate.
Right, but we also know that there are so many more bots on Twitter than there probably was ever acknowledged. Like, how many of those people are just like part of the propaganda push? You know, like some of those people are probably people that have been convinced. But I bet the majority of the people throwing those kinds of arguments around are not really people, but clandestinely assembled bot armies.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I just think that, it's going to change. I really feel it in the air. The way they were talking last night, when he came in and brought his community in, he was saying, we think the same as you. We want change, and we want to unite. And, we've all been programmed to think that we're separate.
We are, though. We are. I mean, think of it this way. It's not a language barrier. It's not that I can't understand someone from Saudi Arabia telling me how gays should be executed and women shouldn't be allowed to drive, It's not the language that why we're not getting along,
No,
well, that's true.
It's more than that.
It is. But if we don't start at the very beginning of, mental health and trying to unite us, then we can't even, none of us can figure out what on earth is going on and what's bots and what's not, and where the corruption started and where it's going to end. We could sit here and discuss it for 20 years.
I think that's one of the real disinformation. The real thing that all these agencies and everyone is complaining about should fix, and that's not a free speech issue. That's they're bots. It's a
well, and bureaucrats are kind of like bots when you think about it.
But that's controlling things. That like I could be half and half. Well, I understand why Russia did this. They were pushed into it. Blah blah blah.
Right.
But they can't go do this. It's still wrong. And then you go in, and then to you, it's like Russia is attacking you, or Ukraine is attacking you because you're not pro this or pro that enough. But it's just a bot. It's fake. Right. But it gets you angry enough to pick a side. That I think is dangerous.
They learned their lesson from operant conditioning, right? Like they're playing with one way or the other while we're on the internet.
Like I can understand someone saying, "Hey, man, it's not my business. I don't live there. I don't think we should be involved." To hey, man, I really hate Russia because this guy, told me I was dumb. So the troll bots are I think, are really, really bad because they can.
Well, then there's the troll, but there's the troll bot captains, right? Like one thing the internet has made real to everybody, I think, is how absurd the people they elect are to lead. Like how much of a joke they really are. It's almost like it's a distraction. Like government is a useful distraction for people who would otherwise screw something up elsewhere. Like these politicians are not the people that are not representative of the people that actually live in a place. You know,
Correct.
You have to be different in order to actually even want to do that.
That's something I end up thinking about social media more than I thought that I would, just dealing with Den.Social and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And am I frozen? No, I thought I was.
No,
For a second.
you're good.
And we talk about weaponized wokeism, or wokeness or something. We think about weaponizing emotions and stuff, and social media can be dangerous for that, for reasons, but it can also be used to disarm a population, because think about all of that. We talk about anger and frustration and wanting to do something and voice your opinion and make sure that you are heard and represented ideally. Think about how before social media, the internet, things like that, the place to do that was kind of the ballot box. The place to do that was kind of town hall. But now it feels really good to yell on Facebook, to argue with somebody on Twitter, get your opinion out, and you feel like you said your piece. You feel like you've done something. It feels good. It's out there. But it's not really in a location. It's not really done in a forum that matters, that is going to get through in the way that actually going to your, like, even.
And that's been
to talk to,
and that has been ubiquitously true till now, right? Like until DAOs and until crypto and until you could actually take economic power and exercise it digitally. Like I think that's a huge shift that is not being accounted for in the way that the current thing thinks about itself, right? Like it's not cognizant of the fact that there is this other way to organize that doesn't involve installing somebody who's indoctrinated to Taylorism before they're allowed to lead. It seems to me that this is a new thing that's really going to change how the dynamic works in a way that we haven't seen yet, because they haven't acknowledged it exists yet.
I think acknowledging the basic truth about gun control is, throughout history, it never worked, whether it was prohibition or whatever. The perfect example to say that only criminals are going to have guns is people that commit gun crime are bad. They're violent. They're violent, bad people, and they're going to break the law. Now, people that smoke pot are usually not violent, bad people, and they broke the law for decades in doing what they did. So to think that these violent, bad people, lawbreakers, are going to stop when these peaceful, nice lawbreakers never stopped. No, you have to see that, the bad guys with guns will always come for people that don't have them.
Yeah, it kind of goes to what you were saying earlier about sort of, I don't know if this was your point, but it sounded like you were saying, like, deciding who is bad. Like, how do you quantify who's bad? Oh, they have guns, now they're the bad person. Or now they have marijuana, so they're the bad person.
Right.
Not anymore. That's legal now. Unless you were already in jail for it, you can stay there.
Right. And also, is that a CBD pen or a THC pen?
Right. Yeah.
How do you check that? How can you even know?
Yeah,
I have to invade their space and like search them for weapons while I take a sample of it for my lab while I destroy their product.
But also the way of thinking. It's like seeing on the news.
It's unnecessary
authoritarianism. Police
authoritarianism.
came in and they got an arsenal of 11 guns. And it's like, arsenal? And they make a big deal. They're like, oh, he had 20 guns. How many shoes did he have? I mean, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Earlier, it's like, it's not the same when you say taking people's guns and limiting how many guns they can have, or making them lock them up and stuff like that. Like, there's still hybrid solutions there where it makes sense to have a shotgun that's loaded,
right,
and ready to go for home.
What doesn't make sense though,
but if you've got a collection, maybe it's also okay to be like, all right, you can have your home defense, but like, leave your shit locked up.
But what doesn't make sense about that though is how do you enforce that without creating a situation where some people with guns are coming to tell other people with guns what to do with their guns?
So that's a problem.
That seems to me like the setup for every ridiculous shootout at the OK Corral that's ever happened in human history.
It's like,
maybe that's where the regulated militia could come in, and that's where the arsenal is. It's the militia armory.
Well, so some people with guns are coming to tell other people with guns what to do. Again, it's going to result in people shooting guns at each other.
It is difficult. It is a difficult problem.
I think you cannot regulate the guns in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I certainly don't think you can police it.
I think you can regulate the
not without causing
the
gunfights.
things that people do. Don't point a gun at someone.
Right, but who polices it?
Well, and also don't bring a gun to elementary school. How about that? I mean, if you think about the way that our airports are set up right now, and a lot of these and courthouses and all that, but you don't have any protection at elementary schools. I mean, you could
Well, I
do
mean,
some
but do those
things
things
like
really
that.
protect us, though?
What's that?
Those things really don't protect us, though. The only effective change they made after 9/11 was to lock the reinforce and lock the cockpit door.
The cockpits.
Like the airport security stuff that they do. Like I was reading, there's this
the test that they do.
Yeah, the test that they do, where like
9 out of 10 guns get through.
Yeah. Like I got stopped once by a TSA person because I put so much loose change from East Berlin into my bag that
I get stopped
set off the metal
like
detector
every
in my
time
carry-on.
when I have the TSA pre-check.
If you're self-employed, you get flagged a lot automatically.
But it was like a lot of metal that had to be there to set off the detector. Like a lot of metal. They could miss like a Rambo style combat blade pretty easily. I
can agree with that, Greg. Like the things that we have in place right now may look good on paper academically, but
there's psychological fixes.
The people aren't trained.
For like the most scared among us, actually.
There's a low bar to who gets to enforce in the first place. And like, I don't know, I have to look into this more, but we were talking about what happened this week, and it looked like there was a lot of people.
R15 said schools are soft targets.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing with
should they be though? No, but the answer is not to turn our schools into prisons. Like we don't want kids going into that environment, right?
No,
like,
for sure.
It should be open.
Like Sean was talking about earlier, like if teachers want to carry, I guess I'm saying instead of trying to take away gun owners' rights, maybe encouraging guns to be.
Here's the thing. I think you have little kids who are told someone's going to come and hurt you or kill you. When they come, we hide like this. When they come, we hide like that. When they come, we hide like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's mental health.
That's got to scare the shit out of generations now. Versus, hey, if someone comes to hurt you, Mrs. Pimpernelli will kill them.
Yeah.
How about well-adjusted?
Imagine growing up that way?
We try to,
That's kind of how I grew up, dude. Honestly,
exactly.
I grew up with, I was, I think my first gun I got when I was maybe not even 8 years old, and it was like I'd walk around, I'd go hunting with a shotgun, but I was also, we had a lot of safety. We had a lot of like understanding of what this is. It's not something to fear. It is something to to not maybe.
It's a culture. Like there literally is a culture around it that has a community that can police that behavior without
because you're exposed. Yeah, I wasn't. My parents were. My mom was like, "No way, no guns."
But because you had exposure to guns as a kid, you understood how powerful it was. You understood how it could hurt somebody, and that's where some of these kids, they play video games and they shoot them up and kill people and they get desensitized to it, and then they grab a gun because they're angry and maybe have a mental illness thing, and then they go shoot up and have this tragic incident. Well, where if we had guns in, possibly taught in school, gun safety, and kids got to see the devastation that a gun can really produce, maybe they would never touch it.
Right. Safety training
people doing the shootings are
like
seeking
step
that
one.
devastation, though. And I did not mention, listen, guys, if this whole thing about they're all Call of Duty players lately, who happen to be the school shooters, but everyone that age is a Call of Duty player,
right?
So it's kind of misleading. But okay, let's say right now, in theory, that does affect kids, and it is inspiring them to do these shootings in some way or form. Like, obviously, you can't blame Call of Duty completely, but it may be that one thing that pushed them over the edge to make them feel like, I've done that before, I can do it again kind of feeling, Just wait, because over the next 5 years or so, these kids are going to be putting on VR headsets to play their shooters, okay? They're about to really experience shooting people up. If video games do cause this, and I'm really skeptical on if they have any effect at all, I just want to say, but if they do, it's about to get so much worse.
I don't think it causes it, but I'm saying that they could be desensitized to a lot of it.
Yeah, at worst, it's a
Have
fact.
y'all ever
A
done
pay-to-earn
anything in a
first-person
video
shooter
game?
is
Y'all ever
their
done anything in a
ultimate
video
scourge.
game when
if
you're
this is
alone
true.
Hmm.
that has made you feel shame?
All the time.
Me too. Good.
All the
What
time.
was the question?
Have you ever done anything in a video game when you were alone that you felt ashamed of?
No, man. But I don't know. What did you do?
I have.
There's a
I
lot
don't
of
get
games.
the question.
Yeah,
I don't
dude.
get the
It's like
question.
Fallout. And you're like, someone's dead. You're like, nah. You start shooting.
Well, yeah,
crap
or
out.
like
It's something
Rockstar
a little
games.
bit off.
You can they had like there's a feature in what is it, Grand Theft Auto, where you can get some of your life points back if you pay a hooker for sex in the back of your car.
You can
And
get
then
your
you can
money
get the
back
money
with the
back if
club.
you can run her over and kill her to get the money back.
There you go.
So I've done
Yeah.
that. Sure, of
And
course.
you
Of
felt
course.
bad about it?
But
As
I was
soon
like,
as it was news
yeah,
story,
a
though,
little
everybody
bit.
with a
a little
copy
bit.
of the game went
Yeah.
up.
Oh, that's
I think that's good.
No,
terrible.
you would though. You're too nice.
But I laughed at it.
If you still feel, if you feel
I knew it wasn't
a little
real.
bit, if you feel a little bit
Right.
like, dude, it's weird that I did that. I shouldn't have wanted to do that.
There
I didn't
is-
even know. That's good, man. I
You
think that's
needed that money though.
I don't know. I feel like if we don't approach this from a fundamental, like, there are going to be some human beings that come to life a little broken, and then there are going to be some human beings that come to life a little broken in places and situations where it's just going to take that and make it worse and dial it up to 11. The
also
question
got-
isn't, can we stop this? The
it all
question
comes
is,
around to the mental health. People getting
uh,
adequate mental health.
the question is, can we catch people early before
What
they
does that
show,
even
like,
mean though? Like, what can we even do really?
it's I mean, over time, for instance, I'm guessing that parenting has gotten better.
My parents
Right? Since like the 1800s, when you used to have
Okay,
kids
maybe,
because
yeah,
you
I think it's
needed
better,
extra
yeah.
plow hands, like, or back into the 1600s
No,
when
I
you
think
might
things
sell
have
your
gotten quite
kids
bad
to.
in that department, sir.
No, I'm saying, like, what we need is to trust ourselves to get better at what we do.
Yeah.
And focus on on not trying to do some disruptive blow up solution. Humanity gets better at what it does over time. The thing that we can do to promote people not turning into these kids that get this situation going. So my parents wouldn't have done that, but they were doctors. Like they had time to worry about it. I just think the answer is economic.
That's where I
ultimately.
get back into, some sort of support layer. Again, my wife and I talk about this all the time because she's from Germany, grew up there until like 7 years ago. And I'm from Southern USA, small town USA. And there's like the social safety net is not here like it is in Europe. These family support systems, there's a lot of
those aren't
With Rain being
those aren't
from
necessarily all that
Ireland,
helpful.
Yeah.
I've noticed that it's especially Ireland.
Yeah.
They're like a generation or so behind. Like you
Oh.
can still see some of that moral fiber that we've lost. That family, the community, the
communities, man. People
I
being
brought my wife home to Ireland a couple of years ago, and she is from Middle America. So it's very similar,
Awesome.
And it's interesting because when I fly home, it's just normal for me that we have socialized medicine and healthcare. It's normal that in the back of now look, this is exactly how I think today. This is how horrible the world is, because Ireland's a neutral country. The most they'll ever do is land an airplane on their strip and let it go off over to wherever. That's the most Ireland will ever do to participate in a war. And there's a safety in that. There's a comfort in that, let me tell you. And I love America. America now is my home. But in the back of my mind, I'm grateful that my wife and I can still, she can get an EU passport. She can come with me if things get too bad. And I feel like Ireland still has a little, and they are embracing crypto and blockchain like no other. I mean, you go home, they're talking about it in the pubs. When last, I don't know, 10 years ago, they were talking about Holy Mary and Jesus and all this shame and how you can never do whatever. And now they're just this liberated country that, like, they're the only country that voted in gay marriage by popular vote. They're the only country in the world. So I do agree that they have stopped looking at all the nitty gritty and just started to try to work back on, who are we? What do we believe in? And, I do think that there's a little bit more humanity there, but it's because maybe it's a neutral country. They've never had to deal with the wars you guys grew up with,
Might have
That's
to
true.
check out Ireland. That's a good sales pitch.
I remember when I was a kid and they were trying to clean up New York at that time. It goes through its stages, but it was just, hey, clean your own stoop.
Yeah.
Just clean your own stoop. And sometimes it's not that complicated. Someone put in the comments, the closest mental health facility to that kid was 100 miles away, and it's always overbooked. That's like to me, that's the end of the conversation. It doesn't even need to get any bigger.
But that goes back to was this coordinated? Because when they shut down all the mental health facilities in the U.S. and then pushed big pharma as the solution back.
And then how about when they locked everybody in their homes for 2 years and told them they couldn't go out in public and see faces? What do you think that did to kids?
Funny,
I think that might trigger some fucking shooters myself.
Right.
But
here's a funny thing, though. I found this incredibly interesting. The president came out and told the U.S., stay at home or else. The Irish government came out and said, if you stay at home and wear a mask and get vaccinated, you can go to the pub. And all of Ireland, 83% went out and got vaccinated. And that's just interesting that they don't feel like they're fighting for their very rights or every decision. I think in Americans...
Yeah, but they also could get arrested in Ireland. They had...
and our administrative state is a weird aspect of that, though.
They had virus cops.
There's a real fight there for us in terms of what kinds of things we want to make sure don't get cross-applied everywhere in the future.
Yeah, yep. But, it's just interesting. I just feel like that Ireland doesn't even feel like they're in a fight as much as America does. I think the average American feels like they're in a daily fight for their basic rights. Just very basic
rights. What I feel like I'm in a fight for in America is the ability to just get shit given to me straight and not assume I'm an idiot and won't understand it.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that if the messaging was different, if it was not about, them being wrong and me being right, if it was just like, look, here's the deal. This vaccine, we don't know. It seems fine. The option is like, we think maybe a whole bunch of people more will die if we don't do it. Like, don't lie to people.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Right.
To me, and I don't.
If they did that, they would be
I really don't want to make it political, but it seemed like when it was Trump's vaccine, that it was like that. It's like, hey man, we're gonna get this vaccine out. We're gonna get it breakneck speeds. It's gonna be excellent. It's gonna be huge, but people were like, literally, I ain't taking Trump's vaccine.
Yeah,
our vice president said that.
Pushing it that was really fast. They're not doing the test that they did on all these other vaccines. This is different. I mean, these are like,
remember who was saying that at the time?
Harris said this.
Since then, like there was SNL was doing a bit, and there was somebody on there was like, I ain't taking no Trump vaccine.
Yeah, and that's literally,
which is so stupid. But
then
you can't start out that way.
But at the same time, like there's really good reasons.
When it comes time, they expect everyone's like. That's what I told her. Was like, hey, just want to wait 1 year. Just want to wait 1 year.
The reason not to take it
1 year, and I'll see what happens.
Wait, Ross, what was that?
The reason not to take the vaccine didn't change with the administration. I mean, you were literally taking something at the phase where normally people are getting paid to take them because they are considered
or that they're still testing it on animals. Like we were the animal test this time.
I mean, man, one of the three is already discontinued because of the side effects.
Right.
Real quietly though, man. Really odd how quietly they did that.
Yeah,
and if you look at the biomechanics of it, actually is
there's some things you can't hurry up, like over time. Like 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. You can't fake that data. You can't hurry that data.
Well, I mean, actually, the really interesting thing about it is, and you can go. Anybody who disagrees with this can go ahead and go to look on all of any given medical journal, right? Like this one was from a decent medical journal, or a decent health science journal, right? Like they literally used a process that in other animals can only be used for 3 or 4 boosters before it starts to create sort of the inverse effect where people are getting sicker from it. This is actually the technique that we used as the base for whatever they ended up coming out with, which we don't know because it's protected by trade secret protections, right? Like we don't know what's in it, and we can't evaluate it by any other thing
70 years sealed.
Than the information they tell us about it, plus what we know about the thing they came from, or that it came from, which was how they treat livestock. Like rapidly iterate a vaccine, they accept a good portion of the population is going to have an adverse reaction, and then they rapidly iterate another one when it mutates. It's not something that ends if we go with that approach.
And that's the argument that people make when they say, no, it has been tested for 20 years. It's been used. Yeah. On animals and those results.
In a process that requires we corral them a certain way to make it efficient.
Yeah. And that reminds me of something else that we said earlier too, which was that like you hear people regurgitating exact phrases that are put out. So it does seem coordinated.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and
I heard a term that I hadn't heard in a while, but useful idiot. And there's so many people that fit into that category nowadays. I was watching this YouTuber, what's his Serpinza. This guy used to live in China. He has a huge YouTube channel. He's married to like a doctor over there, and he just would talk about life in China. But now he's out of China, so him and this other guy talk like a lot of truths, and he pushed it while he was living there, but since he came out, he talks about like a lot of really, really bad stuff that's going on, and he did a video on just all these like low-level influencers and makeup tutorial people, and it was a very good video because all these people are like in the same square, walking around, saying the same things. And then he's showing in the background, there's like these 3 CCP officers that are like everywhere this person goes. And then it's like pulling back the curtain, and it's really disgusting. You know, they're like, oh, look at these, Uyghur people, and they always dance like, monkeys. And it's like they do, every YouTuber comes through, and all they do is dress these people up and they dance. Like you're going to just meet someone in the street, and you're going to dance, they have them come over, and they have like all this food, and they just start dancing. And then they like in the back windows, you can see the same CCP officers. And this is like 30, 40, and it's like, I don't know why people talk about genocide and stuff. It's just great. Everyone's so happy and content here in China. Wow, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like that.
They're Potemkin marionettes in a way.
Yeah,
that tongue-in-cheek joke that was in whatever the North Korea movie was that Seth did, Rogan, where they were going through and there's all the plastic fruit in the windows and stuff. And it's like, oh, this is just like the Whole Foods from back home. I don't see why everyone's so upset.
But you can literally just watch the end of it seems like a skit. It really does. The end of Fight Club, how the Chinese government changed it to, and it's like a Saturday Night Live skit. It's funnier than most Saturday Night Live skits. Have y'all seen it?
I haven't seen the end of the Chinese, the CCP version. I have not.
They show the explosion, and then they're like, but Tyler Durden, the police came in right before he could blow it up, and he went to a mental health facility, and now he is a productive member of the state, and they saved all the banking industry. Everything is great, and the government did it all. I mean, it's literally, it comes up on the screen. It's like from, and it's a thing. It's like from like a Bruce Lee movie or something. It's so fake, and it's hilarious. I don't know why anyone would do that and expect people to take it seriously.
Sorry, I was just typing. I can't talk and type at the same time.
No, I'm totally with you. Actually, we should probably do some questions before we.
We should go into questions, but I wanted to stay on real quick on what Sean was saying. Is like that shit happens over here too. It's happening right now a little bit. I noticed we can see all the comments in the chat with StreamYard, but I have the video open on YouTube, and not all of the people chatting are actually making it out to like public chat. So there are like right now there's keywords being stripped out in real time.
Yeah.
Like, weird.
Yeah. Oh, you guys, anybody want to have fun?
That said,
pull up the YouTube mobile app and do a search, and then resort it by most recent. And if you're searching any kind of controversial topic, you will get nothing. All the stuff most recently posted is not there.
Now that we've pointed out that happy fact to think about, what have we got here, Greg, for questions?
All right. So We've got Jacob Wayne up first, and so everybody knows, like, we normally do a topical show. This week we have a topic that is host choice, so we're kind of just running wild here. I will ask the questions, and we'll see where they go. So Jacob Wayne asked the first question, and he said, "How has FUD evolved since number go up turned into number go down over the last 6 months?" That's a good question.
How has FUD evolved? I mean, it's evolved into a monster from little minute creature since the beginning. I mean, everyone is amplified on fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I am in a way that I never have before. I mean, if we've been around for a while, it's definitely not the first time we've seen crypto take a dip. And there's always this thing that's like, okay, this doesn't matter at all, because the dip just means we're about to hit a big all-time high soon, because that always follows that. But with it, and I think with Bitcoin, we still will. But as far as altcoins and the way they were affected by this, it's just something different than we've ever had before. What happened with Luna and the failure of the entire, concept of an algorithmic stablecoin? And you got to understand, people holding that, they were holding it because that's the money they didn't want to be risking at the moment. They thought it was a stable coin.
But
so a lot of people got crushed in a way we've never seen before.
Yeah,
it's an embarrassment for the entire industry. I gotta say that it was able to get that big. The flaws and the experimental nature of it was very, very apparent. There were multiple people who had dissect this and clearly explained the risks, and we all just kind of sat back because it was so far so good. It was great until it wasn't. And God, we effed up. And I think it's going to change everything from this point on. We're not going to be so friendly with these experimental concepts again, which may have a downside to it because we may miss out on something really cool. But we screwed over people this time in a way we never have before.
I don't necessarily feel that way. I think there's a fairly good opportunity here for us to, as an industry, take this as a learning opportunity that we can actually demonstrate we've learned something from it. And if we message it similar to how we messaged, like, basically we can't deny the fact that a manned spacecraft blew up in mid-flight. How do we keep the shuttle program? That's what we're looking at, right? Like, that's kind of really the world. But I also think that we're right to approach it from a bold spirit of we can do it even though it's a huge challenge, right? Like, I think as long as we retain that and we don't we don't succumb to the regulatory beating that tries to shape this back into the old system, because that's the only thing we know how to regulate properly, and so that's how we're going to have to understand it in order for it to be safe. If we just succumb to that and don't try to push forward with something revolutionary, we'll get stuck with the status quo again.
I'm in full agreement. I don't think we have conflicting views. As the industry, it's absolutely what we need to do. But with that, we have to understand the trauma that just the average investor went through.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And we're lucky that the average investor this time wasn't the majority of investors in the country, because were that the case, we would be getting lynched in the public square right now, all of us, right, for just even being associated with it. Mm-hmm. So this in a way is sort of like a pre-disaster that we can learn from, so that when crypto is the majority of the world, we're not making that mistake.
So crypto is arguably a self-defense weapon. And, earlier we were talking about gun laws and stuff like that. There's a similar problem with the narrative around cryptocurrency, where everything gets lumped into the same thing, like the FUD changing with the number go down in the last 6 months, as the question was saying. It's like there's a lot of people that feel vindicated for FUDing before. So now they're really happy about it. I fucking told you so. Bitcoin only, that kind of thing. But like, there's also a lot of people that don't understand that there are dramatically different projects. And just because they both have a token doesn't mean that they're anything like each other. And even the SEC doesn't get that, or they claim not to get that. And education, I guess, the same way that, like, just because an assault rifle has a plastic heat shield over the barrel doesn't mean it's an assault rifle necessarily. Could be a hunting rifle with an add-on attachment, just like with crypto. Just because it's something that you can buy doesn't mean it's a financial medium. It's a very special wrench that works on a very special socket or type of bolt. Yeah, it costs money. That doesn't mean it's a money technology, I guess. So I don't know. I think about self-defense too when I think about cryptography and crypto and stuff like that. I don't know if I had a point there, but that's what came out.
I think as far as how Fed came this time around, this number go down, I've seen some people kind of give up and feel like that this time was really manipulated, and that the market cap is so small compared to the overall financial system, and they feel like it was really manipulated, and like where crypto was always like our chance against the big guys, and it's like, wait, we're not strong enough. We've got to get more people in to be able to fight against that big financial system.
And what are some things we could do? Like, I feel like DAOs are an answer for this. Like, community managed projects are less likely to screw themselves. And I do think also that that DAOs are the right way to think about administering some kind of charitable net so that we can do these experiments, right? Like, I'm against forced giving at gunpoint, but I love the idea that you can give to something and help something good come of it.
I don't think we have to worry about a repeat. Honestly, I think that is solved. I don't think we're going to see an identical situation in the future. I think that's done.
Yeah.
Our paranoia and where we draw the line on how big we'll let something get that is unproven. I think that line is drawn. I think everyone's in agreement too.
Yep. I would also say recently FUD has started to come from globalists a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not doing so. I saw that they're, I guess, forking Luna. They're not doing the same thing again, though.
There's no resolution to this, man. He's down to so few. He has like, he had $3 billion worth of Bitcoin as his reserve. So that's why Bitcoin crashed along with Luna. As Luna was crashing, he was selling his Bitcoin reserves, using that to buy his own coin and hopefully boost that back up to $1. That did not happen. It was just draining itself away. So his arsenal of his safety net is gone. I mean, he has a few $1 million to pump something up that if he wants to. Luna 2.0. I mean, okay.
Like, what even is the point of
try it?
At this point,
yes.
I don't know what people are. I know everybody's been calling for burn, but I don't know if that's
Pinto 2.0 now without explosions.
I don't think a burn's even possible if it's already distributed widely like it is. I don't know.
You just listen to someone awkwardly try to save face. I mean, this guy has had people show up at his home. I mean, I wrote an article about that. Like, he's scared. I mean, the government in this country is saying that they're investigating him now for fraud. He may end up in jail. Yeah, he has real life people wanting to whoop his ass, rightfully so. And
we've already seen
trying to propose things
that you don't have to be affiliated with this country for us to put you in our jails. We've seen that proven, right? You don't have to be from.
We haven't done it yet. You haven't done it yet.
Country. You don't have to have ever lived here before, but we can still get. They went after. We got
El Chapo.
They got El Chapo. They got what's his name? Kim.com.
Nameless people in Guantanamo. We have.
Kim.com's free. What do you mean?
Hollywood went after Kim.com through the FBI. And he went
to do this one.
He fled, right? And he stays where he can't be extradited, I think, right?
No, they came. We came to his house and stole his servers and all of his cars in New Zealand.
Yes, there's a documentary about it.
And then he's never been arrested in U.S. custody, though, right?
No,
they took him into custody for that.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did take him into custody. He did get immediately released, basically, but they made a show of it.
And then we showed that we can do that with journalists too. Now that we have Assange in the situation, so people should be scared everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Assange thing is crazy, honestly. Like the level of distortion one has to read into U.S. law to make that some kind of constitutional is it's horrifying. It undoes the notion of of free speech.
We started the entire revolution. If you look back in history, because it's little tiny tax on tea, and we're talking about all these massive injustices that no one's doing anything about.
Right.
And I know it's going to be some stupid thing that's going to cause, like the straw that breaks our camel's back, that everyone's going to go grab their AK and their AR-15 and go march and not. They're going to march to use them and scare the shit out of everybody.
I thought we were close to that point years and years ago when I was,
I don't
know
why.
Whenever the Obama
administration
assassinated
like
a U.S.
in the United States. I don't know
that
why
was pretty screwed up.
The place is not just surrounded and people just let the guy out. We're not going to.
I think people don't know who to go to fix it, because clearly the people that are in charge can't fix it. So who do you even go? Who do you go?
It's like when I got hacked. I
What?
didn't know when I got hacked. I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah, who do you go to fix
stole
it?
this money from me, but I can't call my police department. I can't call my sheriff.
They're not going to do anything. They can't do anything.
I'll be explaining everything to them, and then they're not going to know what to do.
This is why people are talking about DAOs so much, I think, because we're looking at our
Right.
our leaders, right, our ruling class, and we're saying they are not helping us. They're not there for us.
And who could? Like you'd have to be basically the who's the blue guy from Watchmen? Like you have to be that guy in order to fix.
Is it Ozymandias, that guy?
No.
The guy with the penis.
Yeah.
Blue guy? Oh,
they all have all the ones that were
the guy that showed you his penis.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Manhattan or whatever. Yeah.
Or Dr. Manhattan.
Dr.
You
Manhattan.
would need that kind of superpower to fix this with a top-down solution.
We all have that superpower. But
You know,
he
fixed it.
top-down
Remember how he fixed it in the comics?
Not all of us.
But the movie or the actual graphic novel is they fixed it with a common enemy, fucking alien invasion. You know what I mean? We're like, we got to put the world together on a common enemy. He didn't fix it. He went away and was like, oh yeah, aliens, go fight that.
Well, he went away as a way to buy time, actually, right? To fix it so that they could finish that reactor.
I'm pretty sure there was, maybe I've got it backwards and it was the film and not the book, but I think the book ended with everyone in the world coming together over a common enemy, even though the common enemy was fake.
Rain made the point, but when she came to America and she thinks like most people in America, you think that someone's trying to take your rights away or fight you at all times. And that I think is just the way the world is being led, is that it's against another person. You can't just like something anymore. You can't say, oh, I like this. That people say, oh, so you hate that. No, I just like this. I don't hate that. I like chocolate. I like white chocolate. I don't like dark chocolate. Or I like chocolate. I don't like really dark chocolate. But I kind of like it. So you hate it. No, you got to hate something. You can't just like something. You have to hate.
That's what I mean. We're analog people trying to pretend like we're like digital, like binary opinions.
So so the solution to this stuff is,
we know what gray is. We've invented the color. Even though colors, we don't know if they really exist.
I think that the average human is addicted to drama and trauma and all of that stuff. So the answer is incredibly boring to a lot of humans currently. And it's what Lisa was talking about. And so Czar 15 did a great comment. Everything is manipulated when it can be to some degree. Crypto is no different. Crypto is a long game. And it doesn't matter about the short picture. What matters is the big picture. And I think we change a human one at a time. You teach us how to stop hating each other. And that's all I want to do is just, I was raised also to hate another country. When I was young, they were blowing each other up. There was bombs going off in Northern Ireland and stuff like that. So, you can grow up and you can realize that you're being spoken to like an idiot. And I think DAOs that are coming in now are beginning to realize we don't need to swallow the pill anymore. We can start to think for ourselves. We can talk to each other intelligently. We can learn from each other. And that can be incredibly boring at times because that's just one person at a time spreading goodness. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of humans are desensitized to goodness. So I'm just hoping that more and more and more people start to realize that discussing all the shit that's wrong today is great, but the solution is one at a time, every human trying to get us to change our mindset and feel liberated to fight what's broken.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% and all of those things, Rain.
And rebuild the new stuff though. But and I think that's what, when we were talking about, like, where do we march? Who do we go to? We can't go to the leaders because we have to do the things like build the DAOs, build the new stuff.
Yeah. Well, Cult DAO is funding the goodness, right?
Yeah.
So what we do is we fund the good idea. And it's going to take years. I'm hoping to see the full effect in my lifetime type thing. But if we don't start somewhere, if we don't start merging all of the world together in spaces and on YouTube and wherever, the internet is going to set us free. But it's going to take a bloody long time. And we're going to have to stop being addicted to the chaos. We're addicted to it.
You know, Rain, you're going to draw up a proposal for Cult DAO, because I just launched an LLC that's already DAO structured. It just isn't officially one because I'm in Florida, not Wyoming. But,
okay.
Yeah, I might have to draw up what our plans are and see if you guys are interested in it. Because
I would love that, please.
Rain, maybe now would be a good time to talk about Cult DAO more broadly, because we've never really just sat down and talked about what it is.
I mean, I was never really into DAOs. I saw DAOs a lot. I've been in crypto since 2017. I've gone broke in crypto. I've hated crypto. I've loved crypto. I've done all the things. And I saw somebody promoting it and I thought, well, I'll just take a glance. And I opened up the page. I would love to say that I had the wonderful, fall off my chair moment with the manifesto, but I actually just glanced at it, read the first few snippets and invested immediately because I thought, it probably won't take off. I don't know if the world's ready, but I'll throw some money in it and we'll see. And, about 30 days later, it started to take off. And what is fascinating and the most beautiful thing about this is that I am sick of trusting other humans. We're all corrupt, every single one of us. And the fact that the contract was renounced for 265 years, I was like, okay, that's enough time. We can make some change in that time. And I just didn't. I've been rug pulled. I'm sure everybody has. I've mistakenly given my seed phrase when I was like 90 days in the space. And to see the Cult DAO be released, what fascinated me was that Mr. Omodulus went and emailed or messaged a bunch of people to become a guardian. And there's 50 guardians at the top, right? And I think that's what actually clenched this, because he messaged them. If they didn't reply, they didn't get it. If they did, if they wrote back interested, he proceeded to let them know about the change that's going to happen. Those guardians got a certain amount and they are the guardians. And if they sell, they drop out of the guardian. I'm one of the many. Probably one of the most vocal, because I don't give a shit anymore. I just want change, and I'm ready to just start being vocal. And
just for anyone who wants to know, who are these guardians and how do you find out about them? Like how you find out how to make a proposal in Cult DAO? Yeah. So unfortunately, the most expansive form of communication for projects at the moment is Discord, and it can be a little bit cumbersome. We all know that there needs to be a better solution than that. But for right now, if you go into the Discord, you will see, all of the projects that are currently asking for funding, all of their proposals. You'll be able to go in and say, I don't agree with this. And basically, it has to be fighting for decentralization or the greater good. For example, we just invested in the Unminding project, which is free mental health for the crypto community. And that the return on that is going to be invisible, or it's going to be magnificent because those humans will have healed. And all of the problems that we're talking about, I think, lead back to what has caused a lot of mental health issues over the generations, all countries. And I think that's one of the most powerful things. But we also invest, like a VC, we'll also invest in projects that will give a return. We just did Pulse Chain and a couple of others. And now I think we're going to be buying some Bone and Ethereum and Bitcoin. And you can vote if you're one of the many. You cannot vote if you're one of the guardians. So we feel that will keep it fail safe. The guardians will change, but the many have all the power. They do all of the voting. So, and what I'll say is it gives funding to those that are ready to break the chains. Break the chains, you will get the funding. Yep.
So
So to Lisa's question, right?
yeah,
The idea that who are we, who do we see, where do we go? Ultimately, I think the process of understanding cult leads you to a place where you say, you know what, I'm not waiting for anybody but myself, right? It's me, but me and all these other people who feel the same way.
Yeah.
And now we have a way to organize it. Yeah, we have to build these things and we have to teach people they're there.
right.
But I think when you get into that space, like when you start talking about Den, even, like, who wouldn't want to be on a social platform where you get to actually vote on how it's run and how it functions? Like, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Wow. Yeah.
There are just a lot of places that need some kind of feedback mechanism that can't be perverted for purposes that nobody wants at all, even probably
Right.
the people doing it. Like,
Yeah, and
nobody brags about being a behavioral marketer at an advertising agency who tricks people into responding to things exactly how the people who pay them want them to.
Right. Exactly.
So that's pretty cool.
It's fascinating. I've never seen anything like it. I could, talk about the person who created the contract. I've no idea who he is. Everybody proclaims they have many theories and whatever, and it just doesn't matter to me. What matters is that this human has created this contract that can't be penetrated. He's not involved, so his ego doesn't even have to worry. He can just sit on the internet and make jokes, which I think, if you actually understand cult now, you'll realize that what he's saying is it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
The contract is the contract.
Me, anyway, same way. I hope we never find out who Satoshi is or who they are. Whatever. Exactly. It's like, it doesn't matter. What matters is what exists. Here's what's there.
Well, he has KYC, and BlackRock did comment that he is a very famous creator.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so he did KYC, but we just don't know who that is. BlackRock.
It's like a hidden Monte Carlo type of KYC. Correct. where he's confirmed with a public entity that confirms identities that he is this person, so that should something ever happen in the end, he needs to be hailed into court, for example.
I see.
That there's a place to serve process to where this person is going to get notified.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the situation with that. And then also, you stake your cult, which is great. Love that. And then I get to vote. Love that, because I'm so sick of not being heard, right? And so I don't want to vote in governments anymore. I don't give a shit anymore. I want to vote with things that make change. And so that's where my new passion is. And if that company that we've invested in, if that DAO or any sort of decentralized organization that we've invested in has a return, what they do is they give 50% back to the stakers and 50% back to the burn wallet. So it's hyper deflationary, which is fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. So,
and 4% tax.
It's right? 0.4.
Okay.
Yes, so it's very small, but it's still enough that it can fill the treasury at all times, and the treasury funds all of the proposals that are coming up.
I like that major what do you call it, incentive to make sure that people vote on the project that's probably going to work out, so that you can get that return.
Well, and it's not even so much that it's going to work out. It's more like it's a venture capital approach where you place a little bit of your treasury into as many projects as you can vet. And the vetting process is the community checks to make sure that they're fighting for something that's good.
Yes.
Or
and
that
then,
protects you from centralization.
If only 20% return, right now the mentality is just get the help out to people. And just, there's going to be a lot of hit or miss. So there's going to be a lot of people saying they're doing good. And, we have 5 days to vet them. The Guardian also vets them, because only a Guardian can put the proposal forward. So their name and reputation is on the line. I only know about 20 of the Guardians. There's about 30 of them that are quite quiet. But, it's just going to keep changing over the years. That's the part I'm most fascinated about, as I keep accumulating, potentially becoming a Guardian, as somebody else accumulates, and others sell. I love the free market concept. I love it. Like, there's going to be failures. It's just free. like be free. So I'm absolutely in awe of it all.
Yeah, stop worrying about the underwriter's opinion and start just underwriting things.
That's right.
Because we can.
Yeah.
So a guardian is made by the amount of cult that they hold?
Yeah, so the top two wallets, the first one, just don't panic, is I think it's the treasury wallet, and the second one is the staking wallet. So I could be mistaking there, but the top two wallets are assigned. They're already just part of Cult DAO. And then below that would be the guardians. Vitalik has been made a guardian, but he has not staked. And, as we get bigger, I'm assuming someday he'll acknowledge it. He definitely loves DAOs. So we'll keep screaming at him until he at least reads the manifesto and tells us to bugger off, but until then, we'll just keep yelling at him. But yeah, some of the guardians were selected. Some of them have, Croat is one of them on Twitter, and he just read the manifesto and immediately became a guardian. He just was like, I want to buy enough to become a guardian. So it's a beautiful thing, and no one is in control, more importantly, because I'm really tired of, a human telling me what to do.
Yeah.
Right. Yep, absolutely. Well, the interesting thing about it to me is that you don't have this this role sort of unspecified as opposed to what most DAOs do, right? Like most DAOs end up with people who drive the conversation and who put proposals forth anyway. And they're typically the people who you just hold the governance token, but don't really have the wherewithal to put together a proposal. They'll go talk to them anyway, right? Like these tools are normally informal, but I think it's neat that in this case it was part of the formalized process, because that sort of puts a certain amount of, I think, appropriate pressure on the people who do it to be good at it and to be diligent about it.
Yeah. And there are some guardians that I'm just in awe of, no matter what they're. What's interesting is people are beginning to realize they have an opportunity to just do good and stop bickering on the internet. And so, I try to swoop in when there's negative comments and just try to stop fighting. Like, I'm tired of fighting each other. We're fighting the wrong people. So yeah, it's great. I'm excited.
I'm curious. So I was watching reading some of the proposals, and when proposals made inside Cult DAO, do some of the other people or guardians or people in Cult, like, would they participate or contribute to a project or proposal that was put forward if it was approved, like if they had a skill or something that they saw in that proposal or project?
Absolutely. A guardian can't put the proposal. Well, a guardian can put the proposal forward, but the many vote on it. So anyone can put a proposal forward. It can be on anything, doing anything, but you have to persuade a guardian to put their name on.
I saw a lot of really talented people, or seems to be really talented people in I think it was on Telegram, and I was like, wow, it would be really cool to have like some people's help with things and whatever. And I wondered if you got something approved, like with some of the community, like say, like I'll jump in and help with this or that.
Yes.
Or,
oh gosh, yes. So we just funded a guy. I don't actually know. He just came to a guardian and he became the video guy for Cult DAO. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to get a proposal in that will create a dashboard for Cult DAO so that people can see the proposals in real time, what's being discussed out of Discord, right? So we're just at the beginning. I'd say it only took off about 2 months ago, 2.5 months. So we're so new that we don't, it's fascinating to see what discussions are coming up. And the big brains seem to be coming towards Cult DAO is what I'm noticing. Big brains coming in and recognizing this could potentially change things for the better. And yeah, you can, if you are talented at creating us a dashboard, you put in a proposal, we'll fund that dashboard. Or I hope that's what you were asking, but yeah, any proposal can go through.
Interesting.
Yep. And they typically create what, like in the Discord, they'll have these workshop
Yes.
subs that people who want to contribute can go in and have a separate space where they work.
And we've
Now-
funded about 30 so far. I think we've had over 60 proposals. So some don't make it. Like, we actually have a choice today, and we don't have to discuss it with other people. We don't have to go with the majority. We just get to go on there and say, hey, I'm going to use my votes. You can even delegate your votes if you're not into it, but you know somebody has the same type of belief system as you. So yeah, it's really good.
And your token has been one of the least affected, it seems like, by this downturn. Greg was shilling you guys pretty hard here a while ago, and I bought because of him. So I've been in.
Oh, you're
pretty
in.
close to
Oh,
the beginning,
welcome.
yeah.
Oh, delighted to have you.
But you guys pretty much have survived this downturn.
Well, what I find interesting is the creator just kind of jokes around and laughs. It's as if he knows that, like, this is you can't penetrate this. So, we have a mission, and for the first time in many, many years, I have some hope, and that's wonderful. Crypto gave me hope. This gives me another layer of hope that we could actually change each person one by one, by breaking down the barriers of communication, by breaking down all the walls of centralization, and giving people choice.
You're so aligned with what we're doing at Den. I love it because, part of our thing is breaking down barriers too, especially like among people who don't know or care about cryptocurrency. There's a lot of very intelligent people right now that are getting into DAOs because they understand the power of it, or even just they understand that you're talking about brain power and people coming in, just having access to brains is such a valuable thing in itself. Membership in it, that's almost like a utility of a membership of a DAO by itself is access to power.
I agree.
That's number one, actually. It's the single best part about
DAOs. I was thinking that last night. I'm like, God almighty, I get to sit in a room with these amazing, incredible minds, and I get to become more intelligent myself. Like, it's beautiful, and it's conversations that I've never witnessed before. I've never had the freedom to say them. Yeah. Or it's been a conversation in a way that has a lot of aggression or fighting each other. And that was never my language. I was just like, I can't. It's exhausting.
I tried for a while, but it was exhausting.
It is exhausting.
The same type of people exist outside of cryptocurrency and blockchain too.
Yeah.
And so something that that I try to focus on with what I'm doing is creating an interface that's so simple, like an app on your phone, where you can participate in a DAO, but maybe not even know it.
That would be powerful. And we're looking to merge, like, with DAOs, support each other, because, we don't believe that being separate is the way. We just don't.
Totally.
So if anybody is fighting the same fight, we want to fund them.
Well, let's at least meet up outside of
sure.
the time, Rain, because it sounds like we could have a pretty great talk about this.
I agree, and I hope to bring a couple of guardians that will help explain things a little clearer, more technical than me.
Cool. Well, Rain, I would frankly think you're probably destined for guardianship ultimately at the rate you're going, because you just piqued everybody's interest here with with practical ideas.
Like, I'm tired. Cool. I'm tired of being sick and tired. So, I hope other people are too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For myself, it was something that I was waiting for to see happen, to see somebody make it. I was hoping that it wouldn't have to be me that made something like Cult. And that's when I saw it, that's why I joined it right away. I did the same thing you did. A couple sentences. I was like, okay, if they're doing it, I'm going to try.
Oh yeah. I'm like, if this takes off, I'm in. And it took off. But I mean it's had a massive correction, which I also love. I know most people won't like that, but I actually believe in, a free market and people selling and buying, and nobody shaming anybody for selling or buying I'm just sick of it. Like, just let it be.
I thought that was part of the tokenomics. That was my understanding from the video, that was part of it, that was calculated into it. Was that
absolutely correction? Yes. So, like, even if it's a downward market, we're still filling the treasury.
Right. That was my understanding.
Part that I only figured out last week was that, like, even if we're in a bear market, we're still filling the treasury. And then when we're doing that, when we're funding a project in the bear market, we're burning even more cult because the price is lower.
Right. Okay.
So that's where truly the genius is that I didn't even realize. I was like, oh shit. So in a bear market, I can go dancing. You're burning the arse off cult. I'm delighted about it. Yeah.
There are some great educational videos, and then maybe that's from that video guy that you were talking about.
Yeah, it is
in the Telegram group, and I don't know if they're on YouTube, or I'm not sure where they're being housed, but somebody had sent me in the Telegram group some of those educational videos on the tokenomics and some of the other things in the Dow cult group. So people can find those and get caught up and educated on that really quick.
Yeah,
read the cult manifesto, as Greg
after the stream, I'll at least tweet that video link to the cult Dow videos. They're phenomenal now, and cult, funded it. So what's interesting is that I've literally spent the past 3 or 4 weeks trying to just break my own mind out of the box that it's bloody well in, and just get out of that and think of everything. Can it be decentralized? Can this do greater good? Can that? I mean, literally taking my trash out type stuff. I'm like, wait. So I don't know. It's freed my mind. It's changing how I think. It's making me realize that we actually do have the power, and if we help to heal each other, we'll stop the bickering and hopefully mature enough to do the change.
Damn right. And the price will literally take care of itself. All we do is strive as hard as we can for that good.
I mean, the price is the price. Who doesn't want to make money? Let's not be ridiculous.
Right.
But
similar
the tokenomics, if you truly comprehend the tokenomics, you will go dancing. You will buy some, you'll eat some ice cream and love your family.
I learned in with bear markets and mining whenever I was getting into that, and I learned the same sort of thing. As if I believe in the project and I'm aligned with that community's mission, and we're all on it. Okay, here's what we're doing. The result was that in the bear markets, I just got more tokens from mining, like the particular things that I was, like Divi and stuff like that. You just get more because there's fewer people participating because they're butthurt. And the value per dollar, or like of the dollar value, is down. But if you're getting paid in, this dollar value of tokens, then you just get more tokens. And if it's going to come up later, then you retroactively all of a sudden, hang on to them if you believe in it, and they'll be useful later. So it's similar.
So something I just realized, guys, scanning through the questions, because we're kind of down to the end of time. We're getting close. I think we could probably go over today if you guys want to keep chatting, because this is fascinating. But we've covered all but one of the questions.
Oh, really? Good.
In everything that we've done, the only thing we haven't talked about is FedCoin. So I think real quick, just let me list some names that also totally get credit because we talked about it. We would have talked about it anyway had we gotten to you guys.
You want to go through and read the ones anyway that we to skip, even though we got to them, since they're.
You guys were in a really good flow there. I hate to be the interrupter, but
that's
it is also my job to be doing this today. So the questions that we did answer from Dragon Chain Holder, what do you think anxious investors should do before investing? I'm piggybacking off of Jacob's question as FUD and seeing growing meltdown in Telegram groups is kind of a turnoff to me. The price of huge gains, in my opinion, is volatility, and Bitcoin has gone down around 85%, I believe 4 times or so. And this seems to be healthy normal. Well, you're absolutely right. It's healthy normal. We think you should go dancing.
Yes.
Yeah, it happens. This happened in a different way. Like Ross said, this has happened in a different way this time, but this shit tends to happen. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And find community and build it, definitely do what the builders do, who go back and code more features when things die down. Right.
I would throw in to go in and understand what the tech does, and make sure you like what it does, and you think you have a reason to support that.
Yep. Or just, if you're not a code person, and you're more of a community person, then go do that. Become an expert in community, build it better.
All I mean, if your only reason to like it is because the number has been going up lately, then you're going to be in a world of hurt when that's not the case.
Right. We hope you'll stick around because if you're going to wait,
Yeah.
Till it starts going back up again to rejoin, then you're missing out on the best part.
Yeah, have more reasons to like stuff.
Yep. Then we have Josh O, who asks, do you think we will naturally over time come out of the bear market, or do you think it will be a specific thing that launches us back to the bull market? And maybe this will be off topic. He said check back later. I think we've been talking about that this whole time. The notion that the DAOs are coming together like Cult DAO right now, and that the mindset is let's try a whole bunch of different stuff. That gets lost in the clutter sometimes of chasing the number.
If
that stuff goes away, we naturally launch ourselves back into it.
Yeah, if DAOs take off like they are currently doing, if they continue to do so, then crypto takes back off too.
Right, and if something at DAO invents takes off, and if somebody else invents something that nobody else had thought of yet, or if someone finally does what I really want to see and builds a decentralized, uncensorable, autonomous scooter service, where you can just sort of drop them wherever and they take care of themselves. Just the chaos would be funny.
I mean, I think that's kind of happening right now. Even Greg, as your mega ETH Texas or whatever your
Mega Texas. It's the United Counties of Mega Texas in its full version.
Yes, with the school board thing, Texas and 22 other states left the National Public School Board Association, and basically they're forming their own DAO. They don't know that, they're not calling it that, but that's happening in other areas. So it is happening.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. So and that's a very good point. I would like to talk about that more, but I'm going to keep asking questions instead.
I know.
We got I am asking, is it topic disadvantages and advantages of DAOs? I definitely think we covered that. From a legal perspective, DAOs are a new entity that hasn't been challenged in courts yet. Is an offshore DAO a way to partially escape regulatory overreach? I think the answer to that can be what you want it to be, in a sense. Like you can go for an LLC, like Wyoming has authorized. You can do something in between, or you can do like Cult DAO did and just create a contract that's self-contained that you renounce, and then run the DAO organically. In that case, the regulators cannot stop it. It will continue to exist no matter what they do, unless they go for the entire blockchain by going house to house and shooting everybody running a node. It's not going to happen probably.
DAO is, what we learned, and we learned this from another DAO that joined Den, where they saw a need for something we didn't have yet, which is incentivized governance action, where a lot of people in a DAO won't participate. They'll just hold on to the token, even though they can vote, but there's not enough incentives for voting. So one of the downsides of a DAO is you might think you've got a bunch of support, but people just don't make it a part of their schedule to check in and participate and that kind of thing. So I think that's why when we don't have it right now, but incentivizing the governance process itself is probably something that'll be, it'll at least be something we discuss adding to Den. We got a lot of stuff to do, but that's one thing that we've done for a customer that seems to have worked pretty well.
That is something that is really worth mentioning too about Colton. I've been probably sounding like a broken record, but I feel like since we've got Rain here, it's worth doing. One of the things that the token itself does differently is it has a little bit of a tax on it that has the same treatment of filling the treasury and burning half the supply of that. So interacting with it is a way to force supply down. So paying a little bit of gas, you're also going to be contributing to ultimately the supply and demand balance coming sooner.
Correct.
Cool.
Yes.
Yep. So it's a way to incentivize voting, because I don't worry about the fees as much when I vote because of that fact. Let's see.
Litecoin Leader is catching up on the conversation. We talk about crypto at some point.
And then the last one that we have answered, besides the one that we haven't, was thoughts on Cult DAO, which we've clearly been talking a lot about today.
Yeah, that was. I'm glad that we had that. We spent some time on it, but I'm glad we did. It's an important concept. Even if you've got other DAOs that you think might do it better, or whatever your thing is, what Cult DAO is doing, the concept of that, I think is basically why I feel DAOs are important in the first place. Is it brings power back to people that don't have any.
Yep. And it leverages the technology exactly as it's meant to be leveraged.
Or not that don't have any, but might not have. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of it's an equalizer.
Yeah,
it's an equalizer. That's right.
So what do you guys think about GovCoins? That's our last question. We got to hit it real quick.
I think GovCoins can be great. I don't think they're inherently evil, but I think that they're more likely to be evil than to be good, just because of who's creating them, I guess.
Yeah, I think the problem is not necessarily the coin part or the thing that the technology can be abused for part. That is the risk. I think that's what makes it scary. I don't think that that we can safely create them without weaponizing them.
CBDCs we're talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really kind of creepy abilities the government will have to trace your money, but I think realistically it is inevitable. It's happening sooner or later. Probably not this administration, but as soon as we get maybe someone a little younger in there who's been probably using money digitally their whole life. And how often do you touch cash these days? It feels almost natural to do. We're probably a little more informed than the average person on the downsides of it, but it's definitely happening.
Yep. Yeah. Ultimately, imagine if you were doing Colt DAO in reverse and there were only a few people who could decide how the system was run, and the supply was constantly being increased by the people in charge.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is at risk is our privacy. And I think they're going to try to push it sooner than later.
I think super sooner from what they were saying in Davos.
Yeah, they were saying before the end of the year is what.
The one crazy thing is
like 5 years, 3 years.
The black budget that we have, the amount of money that is just totally off of all of the books that we are allowed to see. I mean, we have a top secret budget that almost rivals our public military budget. I mean, there's an entire secret space program. Honestly, it exists. And how will they do that when we're digital? It's going to be a hell of a lot harder to hide this kind of stuff then, which is probably why they've delayed it so long. And I don't know what their solution to this will be, but all of that depends on the system we have now. So it'll be interesting.
That's a really good point, man. And I just wanted to back it up because I was in the Navy for a while. I worked on Tomahawk cruise missiles. I worked in TSSCI environments for a decade. There's a bunch of shit out there that is either accounted in a way that makes money available, or straight up is just, we don't talk about that.
Well, they'll still have their books and our books. They're not going to show us.
I don't think CBDCs are necessary. I think that stable coins are basically fake news. They don't exist. They're a pretend figment of our imagination. Not even a dollar.
It's amazing they can maintain a peg at all as fast as the dollar moves.
Beyond that, it's it doesn't have to be like this, but I feel like if there were something as transparent and privacy compromising as Bitcoin, for example, maybe that's a spicy statement, but that's what we pay our taxes in, right? So you can trace where your money goes, which bombs you buy, what children you kill, what you're responsible for, what those tax dollars are responsible for directly. Trace it all the way through the government system, see who gets it where it goes. And then on the other hand, the civilians can use something like Monero or something like Zcash or whatever your favorite privacy coin is, to where we can use it like cash and it's not. So, transparency for government and privacy for civilians is something that I would love to see.
Yeah, my opinion on this one is probably going to be the most controversial, because I think what we're doing right now is inventing a new form of government. I don't think we have a name for it yet. I don't think it involves empowering specific people, and I don't think that it involves giving unaccountable bureaucrats slush funds to do with what they will with. And I do think it has a lot more to do with right of exit from things you don't want to fund. I think that it's not so much about what implementing basic income. It's about implementing basic tax control. What you do with your funds should be your choice. There's some things we need government to do, but we should have a say in how it's done. And there maybe was a time when the average person was too concerned about their hoe or their crop process or their livestock or whatever, farming in the far edge of the frontier. Yeah, I meant that in the garden tool sense, by the way.
Yeah. Threw me for a second.
It doesn't make any sense anymore to live in the society we live in and let so few people handle the governance.
Yes.
It just doesn't make sense. And I just feel like that That's the illusion we're getting over with CBDC too. Like, we don't need to do it because we did it with crypto. Like, why do we want to put them at a central place in it? And why do they seem to be the only ones who want to suggest that?
Yeah,
maybe it's because they don't want to continue becoming irrelevant.
Yeah, how do we make
which is really where they belong?
That is being what's the word becoming obsolete? How do we shoehorn that system into this? And that's a CBDC.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, let's bolt on all the crap that you're trying to get rid of by this innovation. No, thank you. Right.
We had another episode where we got through all of the questions.
Yep. And we're only about 15 minutes over. So before we call it, I think I'd like to go around and just see what everybody's up to. And
do me first, because I got to cut. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Ross. What are you up to?
GlobalCryptoPress.com, just a new article about a couple new protocols that Uniswap will be supporting, launching soon on there. And then, gosh, I had an interesting article I wanted to mention. Ethereum developers have released the new date for Ethereum 2.0 to come out.
Nice.
Again, so go ahead and log on and check the article where I give the history of all the times they've given us a date and completely blown it.
Is this August again, or is it different?
No,
it's August. Yeah, they're trying to beat the difficulty bomb. A lot of people don't know that exists, but it's going to become harder to mine Ethereum very soon because they programmed a difficulty bomb thinking, 2.0 will definitely be launched by then, so let's have this thing go off so people stop mining 1.0. Well, that's going to happen before 2.0 is even ready, and they screwed up again. God, I hate Ethereum Foundation so much.
They've been doing this for years. They call it a glacier typically, and it just makes the difficulty algorithm go up exponentially after it crosses it.
I know you got to go.
Like 2019, dude, it was right around the corner, and it's just been right around the corner ever since.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
all right, later, guys.
All right, I'll shut up. Bye.
So who's next? Dave.
Dave, yeah. So, dude, we got DMs on Den. We haven't had DMs on Den the whole time. As excited as I've been about the platform the whole time, we still haven't had DMs until now, and I think that's fucking amazing. It seems like a simple thing, but it was done in a way that hasn't been done before. Not just because it's on blockchain and everything's on chain and verifiable and yada yada, but we actually have a new way of dealing with filtering your messages and deciding who can DM you and opting in or out or whatever.
That's huge.
You can actually set a price. If somebody who you're not following wants to get a hold of you, you can just set a price and say, okay, look, there's too many people contacting me. Offer me up this much of the Matter token or the Lore token, and then I'll talk to you. And then maybe you can refund that if they're a nice person and not a bot. But it makes bots expensive to run on the platform.
It's
a really good solution. It makes DMs into a sort of a marketplace. I've been using them. Good reception so far. So go check out the DM system on Den. It just launched this week. And I guess I'll make a tutorial for it because we got a bunch of new layers too. We got a tutorials layer. We got a Japan layer. We've got India now. And also GNU Linux. So we have a Linux nerds layer. So that's what I'm diving into this week and all that. So chugging along. Den is doing its job.
That's awesome, man. That's really huge. Satoshi Sean, what's new?
I have an interview tomorrow with Joe. Another interview, I think, this weekend. Just follow me on Twitter and keep me in your thoughts and prayers.
You got it, man. You got it. We'll have to try out that DM feature. I need somebody to DM, so I'm going to send you a DM on Den.
Yeah, go
okay. Up next, Lisa, what's new with you?
Yeah, so I had Joe from Dragon Chain on with Satoshi Sean and I on Tuesday. We did a great interview about the letter to the SEC regarding what's going on Den. It was a great interview and conversation that we had. If you guys want to go check that out on my channel, The New Normal, look up Litecoin Lisa on YouTube. And then you can go to litecoinlisa.net and click on events. We've got an upcoming meetup in Peoria, Illinois, where we'll be doing a live happy hour live stream and doing a free Crypto 101 class for any newbies in the area. So we'll be hitting up the local area coffee shops and trying to talk to a local radio station there to try to get some newbies bring some adoption for some new people in crypto. June the 13th or the 11th. Oh my goodness, I don't have it in front of me. I'll go check it out on my website and find out. But so that's coming up soon. And then more events coming this summer. So
awesome. Well, and for anybody who wants to, they can follow you at Lisa Mighty Davis to find out more.
On Den, yes.
Awesome.
And Twitter.
And Twitter. If you go there, if you want to go straight to Den, that's cool too.
Yes.
Okay, so at Rain on Chain.
Yes.
First off, thank you for being a first-time host, and I think I speak for everybody when I say you'd be more than welcome to come back anytime. Just think of it as an open invite.
Thank you.
But what's new with you? What are you working on this week?
I mean, what I wanted to, I suppose, focus in on is, Cult DAO is just new. Everything is new. And if you're interested in joining a community that's trying to do the greater good, sounds to me like we could fund a lot of stuff in this in here, even what Lisa was saying. So, we have Twitter Spaces on Mondays and Fridays, and Mondays we'll talk about the manifesto, and the co-founder Artorius comes on there and actually talks about how it was created, why it was created, and any questions you have. More technical. On Friday it's more community, so it's more about changing the world, who we are, merging together, finding strength in each other, and uniting all different communities all around the world. So, if you're interested in that, jump on there, follow me on Twitter, and I post all of the spaces that are coming out this week and next week, every week.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And actually that's real helpful because I keep those on in the background, even if I don't have anything to say. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Very cool to be able to just hear what people are thinking about with respect to the tech and the ideals.
One more shout out for Cult DAO while we're talking about it. I was just looking at the tokenomics over on the side myself. Yeah. I want to say thank you for fixing the plague that is reflection tokens.
Yes.
Making it go into a treasury instead of just being distributed out to all holders or whatever.
Yes.
It's just a smart move. Because I hate reflection tokens, but that actually makes sense. That's great.
Yeah, reflection is a big topic that we're all excited about, or lack thereof. So
thanks for fixing that.
Yeah, indeed.
We're doing it right. Whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thanks for joining us and answering all the questions. And
no problem.
And thanks to all our questioners who filled us up with some great questions and topics that we covered anyway in advance. You will all, nonetheless, since we got to you, be getting your awards for being on the show. So remember, share the show, smash that like button. If you're not following us yet, follow us. If you're not notifying on the launch of the show, notify on the launch of the show, and spread this around, because the more you spread it, the more you earn for this community and for yourself. So at that, I'll just say what I usually say. And if you haven't built it yet, and nobody else has, the only person stopping you is you. And there are a lot of ways to get help doing so. So if you need RPC service, you can come to Rivet. If you need funding to get off the ground, you can go to Cult, as long as your heart's in the right place.
Yes.
And anybody in this room, anybody in this community is going to help you if you have an idea to make it real. So don't be shy about doing what's in your heart. So at that,
and if you're afraid of it because you don't know it, go to Litecoin Lisa, go to Den.Social, because they do some very good educational content.
That's true. So at that, I'll let you guys go. Thanks for joining us on this extra long episode 53.
Thank you.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.